This is the knee injury that ended my college football career. Anyway, so out of high school, I didn't exactly have a scholarship. I was in probationary, academic probation, right? I graduated with a 2.0, and they couldn't offer me a scholarship at the school I went to, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it wasn't until spring of that year, my freshman year, where I was offered a scholarship because I had to prove that I could be academically sound. And after getting like a 3.3 GPA my freshman year, my first semester freshman year, they offered me a scholarship, right? So during spring, I was taking names and kicking some ass, right? I was doing well. Towards the end of spring camp, it was like a week out, a little over a week before we had our big spring game, right? It's offense versus defense. For those in college, they know. It's like a pretty big deal. So I had beaten out the seniors. I was doing well. I had the starting spot at the end. So it was no joke, okay? And my ego, for some reason, was bigger than anything at that point. Like, I started doing things I never did before. And during practice, here's a reenactment. It'll get graphic. It was one-on-one, right? So I'm D-end. I was going up against a tackle. At that time, I was about 260 pounds. I was pretty big. Right now, I'm about 240. So imagine me with 20 more pounds of weight. And I was not fat. I was not chubby. I'll just say that. Anyway, no steroids, natural, baby. Straight natural. But the guy I was going up against was roughly 6'6", pretty tall. And he was like 350, massive. Just a massive dude. Very strong. He bench pressed like 500 pounds as a freshman. Now, as a freshman, our freshman class, like the guys that I came with in our entering class were some of the strongest on the entire team, let alone just as freshmen. So we were feeling pretty good about ourselves. And this is where things get interesting. So towards the end of practice, we're doing one-on-one drills, and I was doing great. I decided to take it easy one round. I've never done this, okay? Never done this. Never been this type to take it easy. And sure enough, I take it easy against this guy. I knew his move, so I was quick off the gate. And if you know anything about D-line, you got about 3 steps to get what you need to get done, then that's it. Any more than that, you're probably going to lose, and you're going to miss your tackle. So you got 3 steps, average, I'll say, before you could decide on what you got to do. You have to win within 3 steps, basically. So I won within 3 steps, so I thought. And on my 3rd step, literally, as I'm standing on my right leg, I'm standing on my right leg, I'm taking a step, I slow down. And he's on my left, right? So I'm playing end, right side end. He's on his side, left side tackle. So I beat him. I do a quick inside move. He's on his heels. First step, he's on his heels. I'm like, get him here, and I go, get here, right? Boom. He's already back, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start jogging. It's like my 3rd or 4th step. He recovers quickly, more quicker than I've ever seen. And he does his massive 500-pound bench press on me. And it would have not been a problem if I was going full speed. But because I slowed down, it messed me up. I literally felt everything tear in my knee. Everything. I couldn't stand up. I literally had nothing in my leg. Nothing in my knee holding it together. ACL, MCL, meniscus, patella. What they call the unlucky triad. ACL, MCL, and meniscus. My patella was already dislocated. But those were the 3 core ligaments that I had torn. And I didn't tear my PCL, so PCL was good. But what had happened was I was on this knee, right, or on this leg, right, and he pushed me from this side, right. My foot stayed in the ground, and I just rolled over. Imagine below my knees, just staying there, and then above, rolling over and snapping. There was a loud pop that I heard and felt. But when I heard it, I knew something was wrong. When I felt it, I didn't feel it right away because adrenaline was kicking in. It like was almost instant. But then when I tried to stand up, I couldn't stand up. I fell. There was no stability in my knee. I fell on my back, and I was like, and then I screamed because then it hurt, and I knew something was wrong. I was scared and pissed all at once. Now this happened in 2010. I had pictures on this phone, and it was not an iPhone. This was before I ever had an iPhone. And I wish I had those photos because there was photos on there that I would show right now, but I don't have them. My knee turned like a rainbow. It was like black, purple, yellow, everything. Swollen like you couldn't believe. Freaking huge. This is springtime in Colorado, so spring is like winter. It was like snowing, we had snow days at practice. And it was like maybe 30 degrees outside, right? And I'm wearing basketball shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm sweating because I'm in so much pain. My body reacted to pain very strange. Like I didn't know that was a thing. Like when you're in a lot of pain, I guess you could sweat, and I was sweating like a madman. So I would just show up to class in like shorts and a t-shirt, and people were like, dude, what's wrong with you? I'm just crutching, and I'm just sweating like crazy. I then went to, I called my parents found out, the coach found out, everything, the whole thing was a disaster. I was like, dude, this sucks. I couldn't get an MRI until the swelling went down because the swelling was so bad. And their MRI machines out there were a little antiquated, a little old. They were maybe 10 years behind this industry standard, but they weren't like awful. They were just a little outdated, you could tell, based on where I grew up. But they had this MRI machine, and they had this specific attachment that they had to get around my knee, and they could barely get it. And this circle was huge. It's like a 20, maybe 30-inch gap, and my leg was so swollen. It was insane. Absolutely insane. So once I got the MRI results, it was that day, because they called me right away. The doctor saw it, and the surgeon, here's a good thing about a young doctor. They have all the skills fresh, all the knowledge fresh, and any new procedures they know are fresh, right? By the grace of God, this guy was probably my age now. I'm 34. He's probably even younger than I was. And I might have been his first actual patient that he offered this procedure, which I'm about to explain. But he called me and he told me what was wrong. And he said I tore my ACL, tore my MCL, and my meniscus was pretty messed up. But he's like, I can't really tell because it's hard, because there's a lot of inflammation. It looks kind of bad, but it doesn't look that bad. It just looks really swollen. But it was way worse after they got in. They realized how bad it was, and then they saw how much of the cartilage was gone. But before the surgery, let me back up here. He had said that, because I think I had to get 2 MRIs, because one was, my leg was a little too swollen. The inflammation was messing with the image, and I think I had to get another one. So he told me what he what he thought was wrong, and then he did another one, and he's like, okay, it is what I thought, and he was able to see it more clearly. So he had told me, and at this point, my parents had arrived from California. They came out to Colorado, and we were all together, and he explained what happened, what the steps to do, or what next steps to do. So the next step was, he said, at your age, or in your condition, as your knee is right now, I would do a full knee replacement. I was not even 20. I was 19. And he's like, I've never even seen a knee so bad in my life. And yeah, granted, he was young, but when you're a student, you see a lot of procedures. You see a lot of examples. And, or even as a resident, you see a lot. So even though he was young, I just, I knew it was a bad situation I was in. So he had offered, he's like, look, you're too young to do that because you'll have to get a new knee like every 10 to 15 years, and you'll severely limit any activity that you would want to do. There's one thing that we can do. It's called the Oats Procedure, and I'm gonna plug it right here. I don't know offhand what it means, but I'll explain to you the procedure. So what happened was there was a part of cartilage that was so gone, a part of my knee that was so gone that it needed some help, right? It was gone. So he was saying, like, there's a procedure where we basically cut some cartilage from underneath your kneecap, an area that isn't as needed when it comes to compounding or like running, like impact, right, on impact. So he's like, we graft some from there, we cut it from there, right, and we plug it basically on the area that it's needed, but we also scar it up. So they intentionally scar up the area on both parts, both where they remove it, they scar it up, and where they place it, they scar it up. And the theory is that the scar tissue will then become cartilage. So it's almost like regenerating cartilage. Wow, what a procedure. I was in one of those ACL like machines for 30 days. Usually it's a week or two. I was bedridden for a month. It was lame. And I was 265 pounds. I was like almost 270. Strongest I've ever been. Biggest I've ever been. And I said to myself, like, look, there's something wrong. I can't be this big. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm going to cut weight, become a linebacker. That was my comeback, right? I'm going to be a linebacker. So I didn't eat for a long time. There was days I didn't eat. I didn't want to eat. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to get better. I wanted to feel light on my feet. I wanted to feel strong, fast, quick, and all that. So then after a month, I got frustrated. I got really irritated. And I got crutches and everything, and, I was trying to, like, hurry up my process. So I started going on the stationary bike as much as I could. I wanted to, like, get back to moving. And actually, it was about the second month out, right? The doctor had just said you could start walking on it, and I was like, cool. I kind of went, like, full bore. Big mistake. So it could have been worse, but I was like, I literally went to our football game field, and I walked. I took the crutches, and I got through, and I was like, I'm going to do some jogging. Wow. Third step, it felt like it almost happened again, but I felt like I broke up some scar tissue. It was like something that I didn't want to do, but I had to do, and it was like God's way of showing me, like, this is what you need to do. It's going to suck. I've never been, again, like, that was like probably equal pain, and it took like a second. It was like a second delay, because I felt it. I'm like, oh. But then I was able to stand up on it. It just hurt like a mug. Hurt real bad. And I was frustrated. I was like, dude, this is all I know. This is all I want. So I had to get another surgery because I ended up loosening up some of the scar tissue so bad that my knee started locking up. So whatever I had built, whatever momentum I had going, it had started getting in the joint. So then the joint wasn't able to move. So it would it was like putting a lock on a door. You just couldn't open it anymore. So like sometimes I wouldn't be able to even move it. It was just like stuck. So they had to go back in there and have another procedure, and the doctor was like, look, you almost retore everything. You got to be very careful. Fortunately, the procedure was very minor. They just had to clean it up, and that actually helped tremendously. But still, it hurt a lot. And now, here's the other thing. The doctor said rehab was going to be 18 months. 18-month rehab. 18 months of rehab, right? My insurance, by the grace of God, covered the surgery, and also the insurance that I had at school covered the other half that my insurance that my parents had me under didn't cover. So the whole thing was covered, thank God. But the best they could do for my rehab was 1 month of covered insurance, which is out of 18 months, 1 month, that's like throwing water in a hole and saying it's filled, Like, yeah, it's filled, but that's water, bro. You can't do anything with that. So it's not safe. So we extended it out, and I would go. Their month, I think, was like 5 days a week, So what we did was I would go once, maybe twice a week to extend it out to about 3 months. And I would do new procedures, and whatever they showed me, I just did on my own. So that's kind of how I got around it. But it still sucked. But it was a good suck because it taught me a lot. It taught me so much. So like people that are like, I bet you're thinking like, man, this is exactly why I don't want to do sports. I don't want to play sports. I don't want to get injured. Or maybe you're a parent. You're like, this is why I don't want my kids or my child to play sports. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, this was painful, but this was such a blessing. And pain is not something you could avoid. Like, life is hard. It will always be hard. It'll never not be hard. There'll be periods of time where life is not as hard and there's challenges, but that kind of come and go. And then there's trial periods where it's like almost every day is a trial, and it's just like that's just life, you know? So that taught me a lot. Taught me a lot. I was kind of being silly. I wasn't showing up to class all the time. Second semester, I was kind of like just full on party mode. I just didn't care about school. My friends and I would flip coins to go to class or play Call of Duty. You already know what won. So we did that. It caught up to me real quick. You know, that was the lesson there. The doctor, here's the troubling thing. The surgeon, I don't remember his name because it was not any of the surgeons that I know, like Dr. Paul Ryman or Dr. Alexander out of Marietta, which are excellent surgeons, and I think they're now retired. So I'd refer you to them if I could, but I think they're retired now. But they were great. Excellent surgeons. Super great. That's why I'm able to do what I can today, because of them and this other doctor, which I can't remember his name. I only had one post-op procedure with him to get my staples and stitches out, and then that was basically it. Because insurance didn't cover anything after that. So it was just like, all right, you know, we just kind of figured it out. But he was excellent too. Whatever his name is, I can't remember. But the troubling thing was the surgeon said that I would never be able to run again, and playing contact sport would probably be out of the picture. I'd be done. He said office job would be my career, so pick up something in the office. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, there's no way. I can't even think about that now. Like, I was just like, I would not accept it. So I kept fighting. It was just a challenge, you know. He was covering his ass, not trying to sell high hopes, because he has to do what he has to do. He's got to protect his business, his license, and everything. So everything he said was by the book. Like, I don't blame him for any of what he said. And yeah, if anything, I'm glad he said it how he said it, because it definitely put more fire in me to recover, to heal myself, and to take care of me, you know. It's crazy. But long story short, you know, 7 months later, so I didn't go to school. I stayed home because my football coach had agreed with my parents to not go to school that semester. So I finished up spring, and my grades were pretty bad. So they were really bad. But I was still just enough to get a scholarship. But it was like a 2.3. It was ugly. It was so ugly. I went from a 3.3 to like a 2.3. And it was ugly. And I had easy classes for my second semester, easier than my first. So I knew I had to tighten up. But he's like, look, NCAA clock says when you start, it doesn't stop until you are not in school for a period of time. So I thought it was a good idea too to not be in school. So he's like, just go home with your parents. Don't go to school this semester, and your NCAA clock will stop. So you're not going to be, because you basically have 5 years to finish up 4 years of school, and this would take off a year. And he's like, look, you know, you could do this if you want. I think it would be a good idea. So I did that. But anyway, 7 months later, fast forward, coach was like, but call me in fall. Call in fall, and we'll get reconnected. Called probably 20 times, left voicemails. Head coach, assistant coach, nothing. I was frustrated more than ever. Come to find out, they got fired later that year. I don't know when. I don't know if it was during the time of me calling or what, but I was frustrated. There's more that happened after that, but I'm not going to explain that. But fast forward till now, what is it? So 13 years later, there's been a lot I've learned. And there's one secret supplement, which I'll tell in the next video, so be sure to look for that. Definitely helped tremendously, and it's something that I feel everyone should be on, regardless on if you have an injury or not, because it's a beautiful thing. And man, I'm a living testament of it being a positive beneficial supplement. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. But if you don't, stay tuned for the next video. Yeah, I'm able to run now. Swimming is a great thing. Stationary bike is a great thing. Working out in the pool, excellent thing. I'm able to do things I wasn't able to do. It took a long time, but I realized through diet and exercise, and diet as in not so much in what they teach you in school, because a lot of that's trash, 100% trash. Sadly, it's kind of stupid, but what I found to work out best for me was everything I read on my own. So books that I read that came referred to from, professional athletes, I was like, I'm interested to see what this is about. And there was a lot of awesome information, and I've been applying it, and hey, it works. Go figure. So I'm just sharing a little bit of that story with you now to give you a little bit of an idea. But since then, no major surgery. The only surgeries I've had since then were to remove things out. Like there was a pin, an ACL pin that was removed. It was starting to come out, and I could see it, and I could feel it moving sometimes, and it was very annoying. It was not like life-threatening or anything like that, but they removed it, and thank God, because now it feels way better. And that was probably 5 years ago. So by the grace of God, no injuries since then. And I've been running more than ever, working out, doing squats, but I'm very careful of what I eat. So that's the big thing here. But anyway, long story. This is not supposed to be this long, but just want to tell you, anything you want to do, you could absolutely do. But remember, there's a cost for it all. And are you willing to go all in on what you believe, or are you too afraid to do anything about it? That's the difference. You could be afraid and still do it. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're too afraid to the point of not even trying, you're never going to experience the life worth living. Ever. Ever, never, ever. So get after it. That's it for today. Check out tomorrow. I'm going to tell you about the secret supplement that really helped me out. And it'll help you out too. 100%. Whatever it is you do, do with love. Catch you next time. Peace.